Hi, and welcome to the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks online open house and lead Q&A. We'll start right at 6 p.m., give people a little bit of time to get logged on and get comfortable. Again, we'll be starting right at 6 p.m., so hang in here with us until we start. Hi, and thank you for joining us at the online open house lead Q&A. We are waiting until 6 o'clock to get started, give everybody a chance to get logged in and get settled. So we'll start right at 6 p.m. Okay, well, it is 6 o'clock, so we can go ahead and get started. I am Sarah Citizen with the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks lead team. I do community outreach and engagement for the team, and it is our pleasure to have you here tonight for the online open house and lead Q&A. At any time during the presentation, you can submit questions through a couple of different methods. The first is if you're signed into a desktop, you can use the live YouTube chat function to send us questions that you might have. We'll do this presentation and then we'll answer your questions. If you are not signed in on a desktop, you can see where that little yellow arrow is. There's a link to be able to send us questions through that format. If you are using the YouTube app and you are logged in there, again, you can use the YouTube live chat function to send questions about lead service line replacement. And finally, if you are on a mobile browser, there is a link there where you can submit questions, or you can email questions to lead@gcww.cincinnati-oh.gov. So again, I am Sarah Citizen and I am part of our lead team here. And with us tonight is Dawn Webb, and Dawn is going to take us through our presentation. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. So the first slide we're going to talk about here is why is lead an issue? What kind of risks does lead present? So in our system and many systems throughout the country, lead was used as a very common plumbing material to connect the water main to the house. It's called a service line or a service branch. And just older systems that is traditionally made of lead. We as a city stopped using it in 1927. So a lot of lead is found in our homes built prior to that. With that being said, if there is lead there, lead does have the potential to enter the drinking water through this line. So as the material ages and corrodes, the lead can kind of flake off and actually get into the water. That is where the primary risk of lead in drinking water does come from, is that actual service line. And in this slide, it's a little clearer to understand. The service line is the piece of pipe that connects the water main that you see down here to your house. So it's going to come in and connect to your meter. So this line here is what we're talking about as a service line, or sometimes we call that a service branch. And the program that GCWW is offering is we have a lead service line replacement program that will replace that entire line with copper and remove all sources of lead on our end and on the customer side. As you can see, part of it is owned by the property owner or the customer, and part of it is owned by GCWW. We have a program that for free will replace this whole entire line for you and remove all that risk of lead. So why do we worry about lead? What are some of the issues that we see? Our primary group of people that we're concerned about being exposed to lead are pregnant women and children under the age of 6. If you are pregnant or have a small child, their brains are developing at that time. And there are some things that lead can do that can cause some damage because their brains are not fully developed. They can have slow growth, low birth weight. As they age, they can have developmental delays, some different types of outward appearances, weight loss, fatigue, loss of appetite. They can be irritable. And then as they again age into adults, lead can then cause the problems that we have listed here. Generally, high blood pressure, headaches, those kind of things. So although we like to try to focus on our groups of children that are under the age of 6 or pregnant women, you can see in this slide that lead does affect everyone regardless of age. So if we're able to remove that at any time, it does reduce any risk that you might have for these different delays. So our program started in 2016. City Council had some ordinances enacted to replace about 42,000 of our lead service lines. Those are both on the public side and the private side. So if you think back of that graphic earlier, some people only have lead on the customer-owned portion, and some lead lines are actually on the public portion. Some of them are full, but they can be either or as well. So we began offering a cost sharing program at the time where GCWW paid up to $1,500 of the cost to give our customers assistance in replacing those lines. We did at that time have more assistance available for lower income customers. It was based on an income tier, and we were able to offer more assistance at that time. And then in 2021, we changed our program to actually be able to pay for the full cost of replacement for everyone, regardless of income. So now that is the program that we're currently operating on. So we do free lead line replacement, regardless of income, regardless of whether it's the public side or the private side or both. And so far, since 2021, we've replaced over 7,000 lead service lines. So that 42,000 number is dropping. We are getting to lines as we are available. So how do we remove the line? Right now, what we're doing is if we are doing a main replacement project in your area, you will be contacted by mail by a member of our team. We will mail out a contract. And when that contract comes, you sign that contract. That gets you signed up to have your lead line removed as the water main project progresses. An additional way that we would do it is if you have a break or a leak on your line, they call that a one-off. So if we aren't doing a main replacement project in your area, if your line is broken or leaking, we can replace it at that time as well. And then another way that we remove lines is if there is like a street improvement project going on. So if they're coming down and they're getting ready to repave a street, or fix some gutters or grates or manholes or different things, we will try to do lead service line replacement at the same time in that area so that we aren't tearing up the street twice. So we try to tag on to those projects as we're able to just reduce the amount of time that we're tearing up streets and causing messes and just being in the way, basically. So what can you do now? If we're not in your area yet, there are many different things that you can do to either try to reduce lead or find out if you are being affected by lead exposure. You can learn if you have a lead service line by going to our website, lead.mygcww.org. We do have a map available on that website where you would be able to type in your address and determine if you have a lead line or not. There is a legend there that you can read to see if your materials are made of lead. It is broken into two parts. It is broken into the public part and the private part. So you would have to look at both of those sides to see if you have lead or if you don't. Another thing that we recommend, if you've been away from your home for more than 6 hours, let your water flush, usually for a couple of minutes when you get home, just to remove any water that's been sitting in that. If you do have a lead service line, it flushes out any water that's been sitting in that service line to bring new water into the main, so you're not getting the water that's been sitting exposed to that lead for that long period of time. Another thing that you can do is if you are interested, you can purchase a filter. You want to look for a filter that is certified by the National Sanitation Foundation. They're also known as NSF. What you're looking for is an NSF or ANSI, ANSI 53 certified filter. That means that filter is certified to remove both types of lead, both particulate and dissolved. So that is the safest type of filter to get. Always, when you're drinking or cooking, make sure you're using cold water. You don't want to use hot water for cooking. If you do have a lead line and that water is heated up, that lead can kind of expand and break apart and increase the risk of lead. Also, there are some water heaters, depending on age, that could have lead components or brass components on the inside. So you want to make sure that any water that you're using for drinking or cooking, especially if you're preparing baby formula or soups or juices or Kool-Aids or things like that, you want to make sure that you're using cold water for that. If we do come to your area, sign up to get your lead service line replaced. When we do a project of any sort, whether it's a street improvement project, a main replacement project, a one-off project, you're going to receive a contract in the mail. Make sure that you sign that contract, get that back to us. That gets the ball rolling so that we're able to go ahead and replace your line as we're already there. Again, this is free. It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't matter if you own the house or if you rent the house. Replacement doesn't really take that long. It's usually coordinated in such a way that your water may only be off for 3 hours or so. Um, the big thing I want to stress here is if you are a renter, the owner does have to sign the contract. But we can help you with that if you know your owner lives out of state or something of that nature. We can help you get in contact with that owner to get that line replaced. Here we have listed for free replacement. You can go to our website or call 651 lead. For testing information, you can have your water tested through the Ohio Department of Health by either contacting the phone number listed or sending an email. And now we're going to turn it back over to Sarah. She's going to talk about some of our upcoming projects.
Can you pop back up to the childcare slide? I just want to touch on a couple things on that real fast. So we're going to get into projects, and one of our newest and one of our most exciting projects is replacing lead service lines in childcares. As Dawn had mentioned, children are the most at risk, and pregnant moms for the issues and problems if they are exposed to lead. So we have identified 106 registered childcares within our water distribution system, and we got a grant from the Ohio EPA to replace those right now. So we will be reaching out over the course of the next week or 2 weeks to all of those folks, like Dawn said, mail, email, we text, we call, we do in-person visit sites sometimes just to check on people. So if you are one of those 106 daycare providers who are identified as having a lead service line, you were issued an invitation to this online meeting, as well as some postcards that were sent. If you are interested, please reach out to us either at lead.mygcww.org or at our childcare website, or I'm sorry, email address, which is gcwwchildcare@gcww.cincinnati-oh.gov. That's a long one, but it is also on that link there to that QR code and on that postcard you received. And again, for our daycare providers who are with us this evening, we will be reaching out to you. We'll be calling, phone, text. We can do DocuSign for these agreements. We can help with getting the agreement signed, like Dawn was talking about. It does have to be the actual owner of the property that signs, but we can absolutely help in getting that document executed by your landlord or the property owner. So please reach out to us if you're interested. This is a great program. Filters are great. Our treatment is great to try to protect from the breakdown of the scale and everything. But the best way to remove the risk of lead is to just get all of the lead out of that system. So we would love to do that replacement for you. And we're hoping to hear from everybody. Again, testing the water is wonderful, but what we need to do are get those lead service lines out of there. We're partnering with ODJFS, the Ohio EPA, Ohio Department of Health, 4C, and Preschool Promise. So you may also hear from some of our partners and some of your support agencies as well about this program, encouraging you to take advantage of it and assuring you that it is real and it is free, because I think a lot of people think that we're a scam, but we are not. We're very real and very helpful. All right, thank you. So we were talking about some of our projects, and we're just going to highlight a few of those, talk a little bit about each one of them. So one of our projects that will be going to construction very soon, hopefully in the next couple weeks, is the Jonathan Ruth Woodburn project. This project is what we call a branch only project, which means that the public side and the water main have already been updated or in great condition, don't need to be replaced. So we'll just be doing the lead service lines in that area. So anybody who has a lead service line on this project should have received a number of communications from us already, but we're going to continue to reach out via phone, text. We'll be doing some site visits to try to connect with folks and our contractors and inspectors. Once they're live, they're doing the replacements. We'll also be reaching out to our customers. Then we have the Baltimore project. This is a very large water main project that runs from Baltimore, pretty much from Beekman all the way up to Westwood Northern Boulevard and all the small outlying streets that run directly off of Baltimore down there. You can see all the streets that are highlighted. This is a water main project. So we will be replacing all of the water mains, all the public side GCWW owned service lines, as well as the private side for our customers. We're at about 81% of the folks on this one, but there's still about 20 people that we're still trying to get in contact with or get to sign our agreements. So if you live down in this area or you know someone who does, please let them know. We would really like to get that lead service line replaced for them. On the water main projects, we generally replace all of the water main and all of the public side, and then begin the lead service line replacement. So there is still plenty of time to get signed up for this if you are in the area and you're interested. And we, like I said, we'll be knocking on doors with our contractors and inspectors and everything as well. And our next one is the Baker Bedford Salutaris water main replacement. Again, this is a water main replacement. So these folks are going to be getting a new water main and a new public side, as well as lead service line replacement being applicable to folks who have lead service lines. So again, if you live in these streets in this area up by Baker Place, Salutaris, Bedford, we've been reaching out to you and we'd love to get that lead service line replaced for you while we are in the area. And again, still plenty of time to sign up. This project won't go to construction still for a little while. And we have our Cambridge water main replacement project. Again, water mains. So we're doing the mains and then the public side and then tying in all of our private sides. If you live on this section of Cambridge, please reach out to us. We've been trying to get in touch with you as well. Werner is also a water main project. Again, a lot of these projects are smaller. We have some very, very large projects and then some, smaller projects just based upon what the needs of the area and the water mains are in their age of the infrastructure. So again, if you live in this area of Werner or Madison, well, we'll be reaching out to you and we'd love to replace that line for you. Again, construction on this will begin later this year. Right now, some of the timeframes for some of these are kind of vague as it's moving through the bidding and construction process. So some of these still have a little bit of time on them. We try to get out in front of these projects as much as we can so that we have an ample amount of time to get in touch with folks to get these agreements signed, because sometimes it takes quite a bit of time to get with everybody on the project. The Lion Water Main is another pretty large project. There's about 178 altogether on this project, lead service lines. So again, up in Lion, up in the Cuff area, we're going to be working on these streets, doing water mains first, then the public, and then the private side. The hope is that this will go to construction towards the end of the summer or early fall. Warsaw, from Glenway to Grand. This is another branch only project, actually. So the water main's in good shape here. We're just doing the lead service lines as part of a street improvement project, partnering with their right-of-way agency who's doing some work on the sidewalks. Like Dawn said, the last thing we want to do is tear up something that another city department has already done, unless it's absolutely necessary or emergent. So we'll be partnering with them up in this area to get that done for them, get all those lead service lines out of there from Glenway to Grand on Warsaw. We also have the Harrison and School Section water main replacement project ongoing. There are 26 lead service lines on that one. This again is a water main project. So these folks are getting new water main, public side and private, and construction on that will begin later this year. We also have Southern, Hawthorne, Roberts, and Elder. There's only 8 on this one. This is an area that has less lead service lines, but we want to get every single one out. So we've been reaching out to these folks. I think we just have a few more here. But again, whole new water main, public side and private. Construction will begin later in the year. And they do, like I said, most of that public side work first. So there is still plenty of time to sign up for all of these projects. Bayard Victoria water main replacement project. There's 52 on this one. Outreach began on this just a couple weeks ago. It's also slated to begin later this year. Not a hard timeline just yet, but plenty of time to sign up if you live in this area. So if anybody has any questions, please submit those. Again, our biggest takeaway for folks with this is we need to get all these lead service line replacements out. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 36,000 left at this point. And it's going to take us 10 to 13 years, which is, a long time, but just given the scope of the project and the cost of these projects, it will take at least 10 to 13 years to get all these done. So what we ask you to do is just be aware, know if you have a lead service line, test your water. That's a great resource. We offer free water testing. All you have to do is log on to our site there, lead.mygcww.org. About halfway down our website, there's a little kind of beaker icon. You can click on that and enter in your address and answer a few simple questions. If you are a GCWW customer, we will get a water test kit out to you. We drop that kit off. We come back and pick it up once you call or text us. If that GCWW water test kit comes back and it exceeds the action level for lead, we would move forward with your lead service line replacement right away. So testing is a great thing to do while you're waiting to be included in a project. And we are working really diligently to create projects for all 36,000 of these lead service lines, but it will take time. So in the meantime, flush your water, like Don mentioned earlier. And when we get to your neighborhood and you see our signs and our phone calls, please sign up. We cannot do lead service line replacement on the private side of your property unless we have that agreement. And right now, only the property owner can sign that. So if you get a renter postcard or you get any kind of communication, please reach out so we can work with you, with your landlord or the property owner to get that property signed up for lead service line replacement. And again, to our daycare folks, please take advantage of this. We really want to get these lead lines out to protect our little ones and everybody. So I'm looking here. I don't think we have any questions yet, Dawn. Is there anything else you have with your lab chemistry background or any other thoughts you have for us?
We do make lead testing very easy. I will say we mail the kit to your house. All you have to do is fill up the bottles, and then we actually have a pathway for you to get back in touch with us, for us to come back and pick it up. So it is a really quick and easy way for you to be able to find out, one, if you are being exposed to lead, and two, that moves you ahead in the program to get your branch changed out. You don't even have to leave the house to do it. You can literally go online, request a kit, we ship them out. You find a way, you can either call, text, or email us to pick them back up. We get them analyzed, and within 30 days, we get those results back out to you. So it's quick, it's easy, and if you like Sarah said as well, if you do come up with an elevated lead level, we will get that branch changed out for you right away. It moves you right to the front of the
line. One other thing about leaks and breaks and things that Don was talking about earlier, one-offs are done generally on an emergent or proactive kind of stance. So if you ever notice that there is water leaking from the lead service line in your basement, somewhere in the area between, say, the meter and the wall or the floor where that line comes into your home, definitely call our 591-7700 number and we'll do a leak check. Also, if you notice large puddles out in your yard or near the curb, that could mean that your service line is leaking. A leaking service line would also be cause for us to do an expedited, again, what we call one-off or emergency replacement. A leak or a disturbance to that line can cause the scale that's created through our treatment processes to break down and let lead leach into the water. So if you have any reason to believe that your line might be leaking, you can give us a call at our 513-591-7700 main line, also the 651 lead, or you can email us at the lead.mygcww.org. Calls tend to be a little quicker to get a leak investigated, though. And again, for anybody who's with us tonight, please feel free to submit any questions via the few methods that we talked about, either that live chat or you can send them directly to our lead.mygcww.org email address. They'll pop up here for me and we can get them answered for you right now. One question we do commonly get asked a lot, people are very concerned that there's going to be an extensive amount of damage done to their yard, that we're going to be there for hours, tearing everything up with an excavator, hundreds of feet and stuff like that. And that is not the case with our lead service line replacements. Our contractors use what we call the trenchless method, which utilizes underground boring equipment or digging equipment to allow the line to just be pulled through very simply. Generally, they only dig a hole, kind of an access point up near what we call the curb stop, which is that water turnoff point from the exterior of your home, generally right around the sidewalk or somewhere in that area. Generally, only one sidewalk square is taken out to facilitate lead service line replacement, and Greater Cincinnati Waterworks does replace that concrete square that we have to take out in that public sidewalk there. Then sometimes they have to dig another kind of access point up in the yard, but they are generally able to avoid things like patios, walkways, stairs. Generally, those types of things are not an issue or a problem for folks, decks, things like that. We're usually able to avoid disturbing anything important or costly in your yard. If they were going to have to disturb something, they absolutely would have that conversation with you prior to doing anything like that. But these replacements really are pretty quick, pretty easy, generally only take a day or half a day, depending on the scope and the length of the line. But like Dawn said before, very quick, very easy. Water is usually only off for a couple hours. So we encourage people to give us a call, let us talk to you about it, and get these lead lines out. So it does not look like we have any questions here from anybody in our gallery, Dawn.
Okay. I'm willing to answer anything. Come on, give me your best shot.
I know nobody has any questions. Come on, guys. Well, at this point, we can probably just run through the presentation again, just for anybody who joined us late, who might not have caught the beginning where we were starting our information. And we can skip the housekeeping slides and just head straight into the good stuff, Dawn, if you want to do that.
All right. So again, my name is Dawn. I am a member of the lead program community engagement team. I have about 30 years background in laboratory testing and lead corrosion. I recently have joined our communications team to try to help them work as hard as they do and work even harder to remove our lead lines. A lot of the questions that we get asked is, why do we care about lead? What is it there for? Why is it there? What do we need to do? Why do we need to do anything with it? Lead was a very common material that was used to connect the water main to your home. It's called a lead service line or a service branch. It's kind of used interchangeably. For many years, up until about 1927 in our city, lead was a very easy to get a hold of, cheaper material to bring that water into your home. Obviously, at that time, they didn't know that about the risks that exist. So it was very easy to get a hold of this material. It was easy to work with. So they used this to do a lot of our service lines. Why is it a danger? Well, as long as lead is there, as lead ages, it can tend to corrode. And as that corrosion happens, the lead can kind of flake or drop into the drinking water. And then when you drink the water, you are exposed to the lead. So if you do have a lead exposure and it's not by paint in your home, it could very well be from having a lead service line in your yard that brings your drinking water in. And if that line ages, it's just kind of crumble a little bit, and you're going to get that lead into the drinking water. To kind of explain our service line again, the service line is this piece. Here's the water main down here. This piece goes all the way over into your house. So this kind of orange piece that we're talking about right here, this is what we're referring to when we talk about the service line. The best material for this service line is copper. Copper does not have the lead health risks and exposures. The health risks and exposures that a lead service line does. And GCWW actually has a program that will replace those service lines for free. So at no cost to you, we can replace this entire line. Just to kind of give you some of the geographicals of it, usually where your curb stop is, from the curb stop into the home is the piece that is considered owned by the property owner or the consumer that lives there, or the owner of the home. And then GCWW owns the piece from the curb stop out into the street. So what we want to do is replace this entire thing. Again, that's no cost to you, but sometimes we have lead on this side over here that's owned by GCWW. Sometimes there's only lead on this piece over here owned by the customer. So we just want to get all the lead out, regardless of which side of the curb stop that it's on. So some different things that can happen. Who do we worry about being exposed to lead? Our primary target group is children under the age of 6 and pregnant women. They can cause developmental delays in small children, and if the mom is pregnant, it can cross the placenta, so it can cause some issues in newborns. It can also cause some issues in children. As you can see, we have some listed here. And then as that child ages, if they're still exposed to that lead, it can cause the problems here that we have listed for adults. So there are a lot of different types of lead exposure. What we're talking primarily here is about from drinking water, but lead in general can cause all of these issues in whether you're a baby or an adult. It kind of can follow you through your entire lifespan. So the best way to reduce those risks is to go ahead and get rid of that lead service line. So in 2016, City Council enacted some ordinance for us to be able to replace about 42,000 lead service lines in our system. Now that does include public, private, and full, as we call it. So it could be any of those combinations, but we had about 42,000 of them. At that time, we were able to offer a program where we did some cost sharing. So GCWW was able to pay for up to $1,500 of that cost, and then the rest of the cost to be assessed onto the property taxes for the owner of the home. If you had a lower income, we were able to give you a little bit more help. There was an application process for that as well. But in late 2021, we decided that, really, if we can figure out a way to replace everyone's branch and pay the full cost, that would be a better way for us to work this program. Obviously, everyone doesn't have money laying around to replace branches. So if we're able to pay the full cost, that reduces the risk for the customer as far as, having that financial burden to have to pay. So far in this program, we've replaced about 7,000 lead lines. So we have a long way to go still, but we're chipping away at them, as they go. We have about 35,000 left. It's probably going to take us between 10 to 13 years to replace all of those. So it is a long-term project that we're working towards. But really, that is the best way to be responsible for our customers, is to get that lead out of their system. So how do we remove your lead lines? There's a few different ways that we tackle this. If we're doing a main replacement project in your area, so if we're putting a new water main in, we can go ahead and get that lead line replaced at the same time, so that it just, as they're going down the street replacing the public owned portion, they can replace the private owned portion as well. Usually they do all one side and then come back and do all the other sides. So it may take a little bit of time, but usually it's coordinated within a little bit of time from each other. If you have a leak or a break, like your service line is leaking and it's lead, that is what we consider a one-off. And that's usually more of an emergency situation. So we would schedule to replace the whole branch all at one time. Another way is if we have a street improvement. So if there's a street improvement project going on and we notice that we have 50 lead service lines on that street, we will coordinate with Public Works doing the street improvement project so that we are able to replace our lines at the same time they're tearing up the street, so that we're not tearing up the street twice and causing the neighbors more havoc and upsetting our customers. We try to do it all at one time. So that's another way that we work with our other city entities to try to get them all grouped together and replaced at the same time. Lastly, we're going to talk about it in a few more slides, but I want to talk about water testing. If you do test your water for lead, we do offer free testing to anyone in our service area. If you test the water for lead and it comes back high, then that will trigger us to replace your service line as well. So that's another one of those one-off situations where we would just come and replace the service line. So what can you do now? If there's not a project going on in your area, if you're just curious to see what lead you have, test your water, filter your water, flush your water. So test, test, test. I can't really say enough about that. It is a free service. We will mail you the kit in the mail. You do not have to, if you don't know if you have a lead service line and you haven't been able to access our map yet, you can request a kit. We'll send you one regardless of service line type. We will do a lead test. We send the test kit to your house. You will fill up the bottles, put them back on your porch. We have some pathways for you to contact us back. We'll actually come and pick the kit back up and then analyze it. And within 30 days, we'll get those results back to you. You don't even have to leave your house to test for lead. If you've been gone for more than 6 hours, or say you went on vacation and you came back and your home had been empty while you were gone, you want to make sure that you flush your lines. As the water sits in that line with that lead, it kind of can start to soak it up. So you want to make sure that you're flushing any water that's been sitting there longer than 6 hours out of your faucet before you're using any water for drinking. That reduces the risk of what lead has been sitting there. If you have small children or you are pregnant, you may want to buy a filter. If you are going to purchase a filter, you want to make sure that it is NSF. That's the National Sanitation Foundation. It's going to be NSF 53 certified. What that means is that's called an NSF standard. And what that standard is to, that standard will remove both dissolved and particulate lead. So there's 2 types of lead. We want to make sure we're removing both types. Make sure that if you're cooking or preparing soups, juices, Kool-Aids, boiling pasta, any type of drinking, that you are only using cold water. If you do have a lead line and it does have a lead content and that goes into the water heater, that lead can be expanded and you end up with more lead once it gets into the water heater. And depending on the age of your water heater, some of them can actually contain components that have brass or lead in them. So you want to make sure that if you're drinking, cooking, preparing any kind of food, washing vegetables, that you're only using cold water for those instances. If we are in your area, please sign up to get your lead iron replaced. If we have a main project that's going on, we are going to send you a contract in the mail. Sign that contract, get that contract back to us. We get you on the list. So when they come down and start doing the project, you're just on the go. You're on the list. You're ready to go. They can go ahead and get that line replaced. So please, 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 if you get a letter from us and you see that we're going to be in your area, please go ahead and fill that contract out and get it back to us as soon as you can so that we can get you in the lineup to get that branch replaced. And another thing that we have going on, we are replacing lead lines at licensed childcare facilities as well. So, and Sarah may have to jump in and correct me if I'm wrong here, but we have about 106 childcares that we've recently sent some information out to, that we are partnering with the Ohio Department of Health and Preschool Promise, 4Cs for Children, the EPA, and the Department of Job and Family Services to, if we do have a child care that has a lead line, we want to get that replaced for you. We recently received a grant, so we really want to spend the money and get the lead out. And this is available to you whether you own the property or rent the property. It only takes a few hours to get things replaced. We can be flexible on how we're replacing it. Please note that if you don't own the building that you're in, the owner does have to sign the contract, but we can help you with that. We can help you work with the owner in case they're in another state or maybe they're not easily accessible. If you scan the QR code that we have on this slide, that'll take you to our website to give you some more information about how we can do that for you. So you can either visit our website, you can scan the QR code, you can call us at 651-LED. If you would like to have your water tested and you're at a child care, please contact either the phone number or the email here for the Ohio Department of Health. They are offering testing as well. And Sarah, did you need to jump in on anything else there?
No, my only other thought with that is in the next couple weeks, we are going to be reaching out to all 106 of these folks via email, phone. We may at some point do some, in-person visits. We're also working with a number of child care support organizations, 4C, Preschool Promise, ODJFS, the Ohio Department of Health. And again, this grant was funded by the Ohio EPA, and we're super grateful for that. So just look for us to be reaching out. We kind of started today, and we'll be finishing, in the end of the week and all week next week, just reaching out to people. We can get the agreement to you via DocuSign. We can email it. We can drop it off. We can mail it. We can be very, very versatile and very flexible in how we get these agreements. But as Don mentioned, it does have to be the property owner. But we are willing to work with you to facilitate that, and to get with the owner of the property so we can get these done. Like Don mentioned before, these replacements are generally quick and easy. They generally only take 1 day, not full excavation. We are going to restore the sidewalk out on the public side if it has to be removed. This is a really, really important thing to take advantage of, especially if you have, young children in the home and babies, the way that, these childcare facilities do. So we're really encouraging folks to take advantage of this. And then again, 4C, Preschool Promise, ODJFS, they will also be reaching out with some of our materials and, just kind of educating and ensuring their providers and the folks that they work with that this is a good thing to do. This isn't scary or bad. This is just a great thing to get done and get out of the way while it's funded at no cost. So please, 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 if you receive that information, get with us and let's get those agreements signed so we can get your lines replaced.
Okay, now Sarah's going to talk about some of the projects we have going on. These slides are kind of wordy. A lot of them are main replacement projects, so it's kind of repetitive, but bear with us. We just want to let you know when we're going to be in your neighborhood so that you can get those contracts, so you can be on the lookout for them in the mail and get them back to us so we can get you on the list to get that line replaced.
So at any given time, we have a number of projects going on in different areas. So our first one that we're going to talk about is the Jonathan Ruth Woodburn project. For this project, this is what we call a branch only, meaning that only the private side lead service lines will be replaced in this project area. This main was replaced a little while ago, so it's still in its usable lifespan, still in great shape. The public sides were all replaced, so those are all copper now. So we're just looking to replace all of the private side lead on this project. So we have been reaching out. We're going to be doing some home visits, putting up some signs very soon in this area. If you live on these streets in this Jonathan Ruth Woodburn area in Evanston, please give us a call, answer when we come by. Let us talk to you about this. Let us explain it. This is a great thing to take advantage of. Construction is going to be starting hopefully in the next few weeks. So you'll see our contractors and our crews kind of out in the area starting to do that work. And we'd love to talk to you and get you signed up while we're there. Still plenty of time to sign up if you're concerned, or if you have an agreement and it's past its expiration date, that is totally fine. We absolutely can still take those agreements. So if you're in this project area, we'll be reaching out again shortly, and please take advantage of it while we're there. The Baltimore water main project is a very large water main project spanning down Baltimore from Westwood Northern all the way down to Beekman. This is a very large project, and it's going to go on probably for the remainder of this year and into next year. So there is still plenty of time for folks to sign up on there for lead service line replacement. They have started main placement and reconstruction, putting that new main in. I know Seeger's done, and they've been working on Baltimore getting that new main in. So just because you see the construction happening does not mean that it's too late. All that water main's going to go in first, and then we'll start doing lead service line replacements kind of by sections. The contractor has sort of a phase plan for this project. So if you're in this area and you see the construction, please reach out. We would love to get that agreement signed, and we're going to still be around calling, texting, emailing, knocking on doors. Our inspectors will probably pop in to visit. Everybody has to be tied back into the new water main, regardless of whether or not they have a lead service line, but we really need to get these service lines replaced. So on a water main project, everybody has to be put on the new main. And the folks with lead service lines have the opportunity to get their service line replaced with a nice new copper line at no cost while this is going on all of these water main projects. So construction started in January and is slated to go through probably at least the spring of next year. Baker Bedford Salutaris, again, also a water main project, decent scale project. Construction will be starting later this year on that. We've only got, I think, 13 lead lines on that, but still, we want to get every single one of these lead service lines signed up. So if you're in this area, we've been reaching out. This is real, not a scam. Please give us a call, and we will continue reaching out to the folks on this project for the next couple months. Cambridge. This again is a water main replacement project, so we'll be doing the main and the public and privates on these for our lead service line replacement folks. Working on getting that started again later this year. We try to get out in front of these projects so that we have plenty of time to really communicate and do outreach and get as many people signed up before the project starts as possible. We absolutely can sign you up after construction starts, but the earlier we get you signed up, the better. So if you're on Cambridge or in that area, please give us a call. Werner is another water main replacement. About 22 on that. Werner and that short little section of Madison there. Again, construction on this one will start later this year. There's still plenty of time to get signed up. We've been doing outreach on that for a while, but we will be continuing. So please give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. Lyon is another pretty large one. It's 178 lead service lines. This is a water main replacement project in the Cuff area. We're hoping this will begin late spring or early fall, probably. Again, there's 178. So if you live on Cuff in this Lyon area or rent up there, please reach out. We'd love to get you signed up for that as well. Warsaw from Grand to Glenway is a water main, not a water main, it is a branch only. So the water main up here was replaced and is in good shape. And one of the right-of-way agencies is doing a sidewalk improvement project in this area. So we're partnering with them to get these done at the same time that they are removing and replacing sidewalks so that we don't waste any resources or have to pull anything up. So if you live in this area on Warsaw from Glenway to Grand and you received lead service line replacement information, please return that agreement or give us a call so we can kind of explain what's going on. And again, construction will start later this year on that joint street improvement project. The Harrison School Section Water Main Project is another water main project. We'll be replacing all the mains, public and private over there. Again, we'll start later this year, and there's plenty of time to get signed up if you're in this area. We will continue outreach to your neighborhood as well. Southern Hawthorne Roberts Elder Water Main Project. This is another decent sized water main project, but there's only 8 lead service lines according to our records in this area. We're doing outreach, and that again will start later this year. Bayard Victoria Water Main Project, again a full water main replacement. There are 52 on this project. Outreach started a few weeks ago, so we're pretty early on this one, but we'll be continuing outreach throughout the end of construction. So if you're in this area, please reach out to us or email or give us a call. And again, that'll start later this year as well. All right, so that kind of brings us to the end for right now. Dawn, we do actually have a couple of questions, which is super exciting. So this customer wants to know, if I sample my water, how long are the samples good for? They're asking in case there's a delay in returning them.
Once you actually fill the bottle up, GCWW has to have that bottle back within 10 days. So we do have, you can either call, text, or email us to pick up your kit. Usually, and I'm not going to say every time because we have had a few that have fallen through the cracks. But usually if you call us, if you call us on Monday, it's scheduled for a pickup on Tuesday. Again, there have been some issues with that, but if you set the bottle out there and you notice that, hey, I called yesterday, nobody came to pick it up today, give us a call back, because it could be that either we didn't receive the text or we didn't receive the email. Sometimes that happens with technology, and we can definitely get that scheduled. As long as it's picked up within 10 days, it's still considered good.
Excellent. Then our next question is, can we speak about restoration and how long that generally takes after a lead service line replacement?
So restoration is a very fun topic. They usually try to get to it as soon as they can. And I know that sounds very generic. But if I'm just going to be completely transparent, if they're replacing a water main in like a lot of rain or bad weather, or it's cold outside, that restoration is going to take a little bit longer just because we can't plant grass in the winter, that kind of thing. But I do know that I actually have met our restoration guy. He is constantly busy trying to schedule to get things replaced and changed. So I won't say it's going to happen the day after the work is done. Sometimes they come back and do all the restoration after the project has been completed. So yes, that could take a while. If the project is in the winter time, it's maybe going to take a little bit longer. But I do know that that is a priority for us to try to get to that as soon as we can. And a lot of our branch replacements, I know Sarah touched on it some, we aren't trying to tear up your entire yard. We're able to do a lot of them the way that they call it is trenchless, where we would just pop a sidewalk, square out, do the sidewalk, and then maybe dig a hole up near the foundation of your home and try to just shoot the line underground, so that we aren't tearing up people's landscaping or trees or sidewalks on their property, walkways, driveways. We try to avoid all of that by doing this trenchless so that hopefully by the time restoration does need to happen, it's minimal.
Yeah, that's all absolutely correct. Generally, in the summer months, we tell people it should be done, full permanent restoration should be done around 60 days. Now, sometimes it's much quicker than that. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. And like you mentioned, for our folks who are October to March, it's Cincinnati, it's very cold. Grass won't grow. So a lot permanent restoration for folks who are in the winter months will occur generally by June 15th. And every once in a while, we'll say very honestly, something falls through the cracks or it's complicated or we have to go back. But generally, our restoration is done pretty quickly. And like Dawn mentioned, we do have great restoration teams. If there is a problem, if you get lead service line replacement and something doesn't seem right or it's been a little while, you can always reach out to us and we check in immediately with the restoration crews. They are super responsive and always at least give us an idea of what's going on, why it's going on. They'll check on it and kind of redo the temporary restoration if it might still be a minute until that permanent restoration is done. But they do get to it as quickly as they can, and I think they do a great job with that. It is a lot, to get done, but they're really good with that. So we've got just a few minutes left on. Is there anything else that that you can think of or anything you'd like to share with our crew?
Please send your contracts back. It is very important to us if you want to be involved in our projects that you do send that contract back. And if you're, like I said, if you're unable to get a hold of the owner, we have some tools that we can use to maybe get a hold of them to help you facilitate that and get that moving quicker. We don't want you to be discouraged if you don't own the property. Please don't let that even get in your way. Go ahead and let us know that you are a tenant in the property, and we will reach out to the owner and try to kick that process off for you.
Another thought just for some of our folks who are on these long projects, sometimes it could be many, 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 many months from the time that you talk to us and sign a contract until lead service line replacement starts. During that time frame, if you're confused or something, doesn't seem right or it's been a little while, just reach out to us. But on these large projects like Baltimore, Lyon, Salutaris, some of these, it's going to be months until our contractor is calling you saying, hi, we're ready to do the lead service line portion of your replacement. And if you live in that area, if it's your property, you'll see the crews out there, and their equipment, you'll kind of see things moving along. But don't be alarmed if you don't hear anything back for a little while. If you're on one of these large projects, from the time that you sign until the time that lead service line replacements on the private side actually start, it can be months and months and months. But at any time, if you want an update or you're kind of concerned or wanting to know what's going on, you absolutely can reach out to us either at the 513-651-LED number or via our email address. We are always happy to answer any questions and provide the best time frame that we can, keeping in mind that the construction environment is fluid and sometimes things change or they have to pivot from their initial plan. So we think that our contractors do a wonderful job. Again, these are usually quick and easy. Water's only off for a couple hours, minimal excavation. We can work usually around a day because somebody does have to be home. So we need a resident or a grown-up friend, somebody to just be there to let us in, because the replacement does go all the way from the curb all the way up to your meter inside your home. So we do have to come inside. But again, the contractors and our inspectors work with folks to facilitate a day that works for that to be done. So we really want to get these replaced. We can be pretty flexible. We just need your agreement signed, and we need good contact information also. So if you are a Greater Cincinnati Waterworks customer and you haven't updated your contact information in quite a long time, your contact information that's on file with the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks is the contact information that we're going to reach out to contact you. So if you've moved and it's a rental property, if you haven't updated phone number, email in a long time, please do that either in the portal or by calling 513-591-7700 to update it with one of our call center reps, so that we will have good information when we get to your lead service line replacement. And as Dawn mentioned, we are going to mail those agreements. We're going to send email. We're going to knock on your door. We're going to send text messages. We're going to leave voicemail. We're going to do everything we possibly can to get in contact with you to get these signed up. So know that you have a lead service line, test your water, be looking for leaks or any signs of problems with that line. And then when we show up and we start calling and putting up our signs and all of our stuff, please, please, please send back your agreement. Share this information with friends and family. Lead was prevalent in the early 1900s into the 1920s. If you have a house in that time frame, there may be a lead service line. So share our information. We'd love to replace your line.
Hi. Thanks for coming. We do appreciate it. Again, we are always available. Any question that you think of, we probably don't feel like it's something you're like, maybe I don't really need to know. We've probably heard it. We've probably answered it. We probably have a great answer. So if you have questions about any of the process, just feel free to reach out to us.
Yep, absolutely. And again, for our childcare folks, if any of the childcare folks are with us tonight, please, please, please scan that QR on that postcard, get in contact with us. It is also possible that your line may have already been replaced at some point with copper, but there is a 2-point verification process that we have to do with that. So for anybody who disagrees with the service line material record on our lead map, there's a little area on there you can click on and do a verification where you take some photos of the line inside your house, and then we can come out and verify our side out on the public side to get that material changed. But just don't assume that you're good to go just because you can see copper in your home. It is always possible that there could be lead out at the curb. So even if you're getting our correspondence and you're like, no, I'm copper, please, please reach out to us so we can kind of work on this 2-point verification process and share some information with you, because it was very common many years ago for only a portion of the line to be replaced if there was a leak or problem before regulations were changed. So even if we're showing you as lead on the lead map on our website, please still reach out to us to have a conversation about, how to get that record changed and what's going on at your property. That's about all that I've got then, Dawn.
I think we've said it all for tonight.
I think we have. Okay, well, we will wrap up here then. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like to share, please call us at 513-651-LED. That's 5323. Or you can email us directly at led.mygcww.org.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a good